The Hollywood Reporter has just shared that Justin Baldoni has been axed from the next movie that he was supposed to be a part of. Baldoni lost 2 other jobs recently. The agency that dropped him in December after what he claims was pressure from Deadpool actor Ryan Reynolds. Repeated pressure.
He was dropped by his talent agency, public sentiment turned against him, he lost an award, you saw people in Hollywood.
The Blake versus Justin drama has been reaching an all-time high, and it's clear by now that the party with the most to lose might have been Blake, but it's Justin who got his career left in the dust. With such a hefty accusation placed against him, this lawsuit has reportedly caused him to lose millions of dollars in deals. Even worse, it's because of a movie that was supposed to take him to new heights. Let's start with what we know. Justin Baldoni recently amended his lawsuit to include the fact that the New York Times were well aware of Blake Lively planning to take Justin down. His lawyer amended his complaint to include the reporting behemoth, and people think they might soon subpoena Taylor Swift as well.
Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, amended their lawsuit against Blake Lively, and they included the New York Times data, which we showed you guys on the show. And what's really cool about it, TMZ is reporting it and some other outlets, is the fact that Brian Friedman is giving credit to the internet sleuths. Like, typically they leave us out. It's like the moms hunting, us sending emails, you guys sending me emails at info@candace.com, and all of us discussing it. And typically they just like cut you out and they're like, oh, we discovered this. No, Brian Friedman says, due to public interest in this case.
And Blake is being, well, difficult through everything. She recently even said that she did not want to sit down with Brian Friedman, Justin's defense lawyer. It seems like she thinks she can have control over the opposite side's representation.
Blake Lively says, like, they met the other day, like the lawyers got onto a call, and she's basically saying that she does not want to sit down for a deposition with Brian Friedman. Like, I know that this girl grew up rich and privileged, but how rich we talking? You know what I'm saying? Because does she think she's like a princess that she can just be like, I don't like your lawyer and I don't want to sit down with him and answer questions and tell the truth. So she's trying to get out of having to sit down and be deposed by Brian Friedman. Like, sweetheart, that's not your option. You don't get to decide who your defense's lawyer is. He picked Brian Friedman. You don't like him because he played your game better than you. Like, you guys went to the New York Times. Oh, nobody could be bigger than the New York Times before you filed your lawsuit, as all of the evidence is indicating, because you wanted to set the public narrative against Justin Baldoni. Now that it's backfiring, you're like, hey, I want people gagged. This is unprofessional to go to the press. Everyone sees right through you and Ryan.
Justin's lawyer put out a statement against Blake and her team, saying that they had worked for months to submerge Justin into a web of lies and completely destroy his reputation and career for a personal vendetta, largely due to her own faults.
Justin's team argues that this metadata indicates a premeditated effort to defame him, supporting their claims against both Blake and the New York Times. In a statement, Justin's lawyer said, "The decision to amend our lawsuit was a logical next step due to the overwhelming amount of new proof that has come to light." Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, said in a statement, "This fresh evidence corroborates what we knew all along, that due to a blind pursuit of power, Miss Lively and her entire team colluded for months to destroy reputations through a complex web of lies, false accusations, and the manipulation of illicitly received communications. The ongoing public interest in this case online has ironically shed light on the undeniable facts pertaining to the New York Times and how heavily Miss Lively and her representatives were not only deeply involved in the attempted takedown and smear campaign of Mr. Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and their teams, but that they themselves initiated it."
Meanwhile, Justin also dropped a bombshell when he revealed notes from an intimacy coordinator, the same one Blake claimed that they were never given. He revealed that it was she herself who said that they were two veterans who didn't need one at all.
Inside, he claims Blake skipped out on a meeting with an intimacy coordinator before filming, telling him, "I feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you, though."
And then let's just do one almost like super close.
Yeah.
Justin, who has also released behind-the-scenes footage from the movie, claims that Blake instead insisted that he meet to read her his notes from the coordinator at her New York penthouse home. Those included explicit conversations about their scenes, including references to foreplay.
It's a big problem. It's a really big problem.
Justin says those notes became the basis for her lawsuit, where she alleged inappropriate behavior.
But why is Justin set to lose millions, or approximately $400 million to be exact, from this suit? Well, he's made it clear that he suffered losses through the loss of brand deals and movie deals. For an actor who wasn't completely on the A-list previously, his reputation is very vital to him. And with the title of harassment and misconduct tagged onto him, no on Ian, the industry would want to work with him, especially with a power couple being behind his downfall. One of the confirmed fallouts of his lawsuit is the fact that he was fired from the live adaptation of the Pac-Man video game, something that was sure to have taken him to new heights.
The Hollywood Reporter has just shared that Justin Baldoni has been axed from the next movie that he was supposed to be a part of. And it's a bummer because it could have been huge for him. Baldoni was attached to direct a live-action adaptation of the Pac-Man video game. And he really had high hopes for this movie. In fact, according to an August 18th text message that he sent his PR team, he suggested sharing the news publicly that he would be directing a Pac-Man movie, and doing so, he hoped would help him move towards the future. A future that now won't happen and cost him a lot of money.
And it didn't end there either. The Hollywood Reporter also revealed that Justin had not only lost at least 2 other jobs recently, but every single one of his partners for his company, Wayfarer Studios, were in serious conversations with him, most likely about whether to continue a cooperation with him or not.
Additionally, the Hollywood Reporter shares that Baldoni lost 2 other jobs recently. They don't specify what those other gigs are.
Meanwhile, a WME executive, the agency for both Blake and Ryan, poked fun at Justin's name and defended the two, but he did so in poor taste. Of course, he did try to uplift his friends and said that he fired Justin.
E! News confirms that Ari said during a live recording of the Freakonomics podcast, set for release in March, "I mean, it is a up bad situation with what Baldoni, whatever his name is doing." And after it's noted by host Stephen Dubner that Justin was once a WME client, Ari starkly adds, "Until I fired him." Ari states on the pod, "I've known Ryan and Blake for over a decade. They're really incredible people. In Hollywood, they have been incredibly successful. People work with them. They've never had any bad mojo out there or treated people badly. They are charitable. They've given tons of money away." He continues, "If what is alleged in her lawsuit that what happened on social media is true, just because she complained to the studio that things were unhealthy on set and that he was director and this man was the producer and they did to her what is being alleged, they're really bad people." Reiterating his stance on Ryan and Blake, Ari doesn't mince words, saying, "I am a ride or die, and they are good people."
While one would think that he might have simply not liked Justin previously and was defending his friends, Justin has alleged that he was actually dropped from his agency because of the power couple. They were the one who orchestrated him being fired from behind the scenes.
The agency that dropped him in December after what he claims was pressure from Deadpool actor Ryan Reynolds. Repeated pressure. And we know that Ryan Reynolds, like him or not, makes a lot of money for Endeavor.
Brian Friedman had something to say about a major executive acting like a petulant child in a podcast, especially when speaking on such a serious matter.
Baldoni's attorney says, quote, "Mr. Ari Emanuel is notably one of the best agents and clearly the most loyal in Hollywood. As I understand it, Justin hasn't been called Bologna since the 5th grade. Y'all, Justin hasn't been called Bologna since the 5th grade. Perhaps Ari's perspective would be different if they had ever met in the half-decade they were clients of his agency," meaning Baldoni and his production company.
And Justin's side continues to prove Blake long on multiple instances. One was the aforementioned intimacy coordinator issue. Blake had claimed that Justin had violated the standard industry practice and skipped a coordinator, particularly for sensitive scenes.
Baldoni improvised these intimate scenes. She even claimed that during the very personal birthing scene, an intimacy coordinator hadn't choreographed the action beforehand. And Lively also argued that one of the conditions that Wayfarer and Baldoni agreed to before she would return to set after the writer's strike was that an intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when Lively was on set. But Baldoni has refuted this because in his amended complaint it reads, "In fact, an intimacy coordinator had already been engaged during the first half of the production, so Wayfarer took no issue with this request itself, despite both Lively and her attorney knowingly insinuating there was not one." On or about March 20th, 2023, nearly 2 months before filming began, Baldoni met with the intimacy coordinator, and in early of April of 2023, more than 6 weeks before production commenced, she was engaged. Lively was aware, as Baldoni had informed her in writing on or about April 6, 2023. Lively's attorney was also aware, as documented in May 8, 2023 emails between her and Wayfarer's attorney, within which Wayfarer provides her the intimacy coordinator approved nudity rider, followed by written confirmation of said approval. Later on in the complaint it reads, quote, "Contrary to Lively's knowingly false claims, it was Lively who refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator to plan out their scenes, putting Baldoni in the awkward position of meeting alone with the intimacy coordinator and later relaying sex scene suggestions and plans to Lively in the intimacy coordinator's absence."
The issue seems to be a big win for Justin because he said that these things were taken out of context and that Blake herself had refused to meet with their intimacy coordinator and forced Justin to relay notes from his meeting with her in meetings at her home, sometimes when her husband was present.
These meetings often took place at Lively's insistence in the couple's home and often while Lively's husband was present. Lively's method of work was unconventional and uncomfortable for Baldoni. To suggest Baldoni was the one who created this scenario is knowingly false. And Baldoni actually incorporates into this complaint a text message exchange. It's an important one. At first, it's a screenshot of a conversation between him and presumably Blake Lively, where he writes her, "Just hired intimacy coordinator who I love will set you to meet /FT with her next week for intro." To which Lively appears to respond, "I feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you though." So that's an important message, but then Baldoni appears to send that exchange with him and Blake Lively to an unidentified female producer, and he writes, "Just FYI, just wanted to tell you about this. Seems she doesn't want to meet intimacy coordinator until we start, which may mess up the workflow, but I can still meet with her, of course." To which the female producer writes back, "That's fine if she doesn't want to meet her now. You'll just have to walk her through what you and," I guess this is the intimacy coordinator's name, but it's redacted, "are thinking."
And then, of course, there's the seemingly thinly veiled threat of Blake's two greatest weapons, Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds. Many have pointed out that it would not be overkill to assume Blake was telling Justin to do what she said or else.
If you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So really, we all benefit from these gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you.
Justin's party has even alleged that Blake and her team have been consistently selfish and refused to give even a little bit of a way to Justin. Considering they have chosen to go through a formal procedure, they should be acting in good faith. But she is determined to cause as much trouble as possible to him.
Notwithstanding the Lively party's inexplicable refusal to consent to a similar extension requested by the Wayfarer parties in the throes of the Los Angeles wildfires, the Wayfarer parties have no objection to the extension sought by the Lively parties. First off, that is a really pointed shot there. You see, it was reported that in a prior filing, Baldoni's team accused Blake Lively and her team of really acting in bad faith.
They alleged that Blake's team had tried to serve a member of Team Justin during the LA wildfires, where his attorney Brian even lost his home. They refused to consent to an extension for his court deadlines, despite the damage he had suffered.
It was reported that in one filing they wrote, "The Lively's party's counsel refused to consent to an extension of time, contending that counsel requested that the Wayfarer parties waive service, but no waiver was excluded. Insensitively, the Lively parties ignored the effect of the Los Angeles wildfires on Mr. Friedman and his law office. According to In Touch, Baldoni's attorney, again Brian Friedman, lost his home during the LA wildfires, and Lively and her team, the argument was, didn't even appreciate that complication in this litigation. In fact, according to the timeline file, the timeline document that was published on that website that was launched by Baldoni's side, it reads, quote, January 7th, 2025, Lively attempts to serve Baldoni and team during the Los Angeles wildfires, going as far as to serve a member of Baldoni's team while they attempted to evacuate with their small child.
And finally, Blake has left eyes wide when she said she wanted to go through Justin Baldoni's phone.
Blake Lively wants to go through Justin Baldoni's phone for,
even though they're not married.
Even though they're not married, they're not dating, and yet she still wants to go through his phone because she believes that there is evidence there, evidence of the alleged smear campaign against her. This is part of her lawsuit. She is suing him for not only sexual harassment, but for retaliation.
And I think that's the reason she says she wants to go through the cell phone to see if there are vindictive messages.
Right, and I guess this started with the text messages that she already put in her lawsuit, the text messages between Justin's PR crisis team, where they said things like they were out to bury or destroy Blake's career.
She has brought up 3 different mobile carriers in an attempt to be given access to messages going back at least 2 years since the movie first started production.
So she thinks there's more evidence there. So she has now subpoenaed 3 different cell phone carriers, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon.
And she wants to go back a long, long way.
More than 2 years. So basically, since they started working on this movie together, and she wants the cell phone records not only for Justin, but his 2 publicists, Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, the co-founder of his Wayfarer Studios, another crisis manager. So this is what Blake's lawyer said about these subpoenas. They said Ms. Lively has initiated discovery that will expose the people, tactics, and methods that have worked to destroy and bury her reputation and family over the past year. So, Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, reacted, I think, to your point, exactly how you would expect him to react to these subpoenas. He said, they are asking for every single call, text, data log, and even real-time location information for the past 2.5 years, regardless of the sender, recipient, or subject matter. This massive phishing expedition demonstrates that they are desperately seeking any factual basis for their provably false claims. They will find none.
It's gone to the point that people think both parties are using the court of law for a PR case.
Samantha, Ohio. It's giving invasion of privacy. I don't even feel that comfortable going through my boyfriend's phone, so I don't know. At this point, Blake and Justin both just need to drop it. Forget about it ends with us, and forget about Colleen Hoover.
Can I tell you who really supports your position?
Me.
Your boyfriend.
Yeah, your boyfriend.
Your boyfriend.
And lots of other people in here who were applauding when you said you don't want to go through your boyfriend's phone.
So is this case going to have a victor, or will the 2 parties finally reach a settlement? For now, it looks like everyone's fired up and ready to fight a few rounds. Let's see who comes out on top. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.